Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Animal Communication Adventures. My name's Nicole. I'm an animal communicator from Australia.
And I'm Courtney, and I'm an animal communicator from Pennsylvania. And we're so happy that you guys are joining us today. Our show is It Just Comes Naturally. So just as a side note, I'm out in a park right now, so hopefully I'm kind of off the beaten trail a little bit, so hopefully no one will bother me. But if you hear some background noises, it's somebody coming by.
We'll hear it live.
Yeah. So what we wanted to talk about today was there are certain behaviors that animals have because it's their instincts. It's just what comes naturally to them. Now,
Yeah.
Nicole and I and other communicators are able to help with some of these behavior issues. Some of them can be fixed or spun in a different direction that will help the animal live with people better. But some of these behaviors we can't fix. It's just who these animals are. It's just it's instinct. So Nicole's going to kick it off, and we're going to talk about some of the more common behaviors that somebody might encounter.
Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in there, and let's just say barking. Barking is such a common problem for people. Now, it's only natural that dogs will bark. Some dogs will bark more than others. I have 4 dogs, and like my leader of the pack rarely barks because she doesn't need to. She sends her minions off to do that. I have other dogs that bark, and actually it's funny because 2 of my dogs are completely deaf and they can't hear themselves, so they're extremely loud when they bark. It's, and difficult because you have to use hand signals to make them be quiet. So barking is a common behavior, and you'd expect a dog to bark if someone came to the door, if someone's near the fence, if they're threatened, those sorts of things. So there's a natural level of barking, but when we would get involved is when the barking is excessive, when there's constant barking, and then us as animal communicators would look at, is this animal bored because it's just trying to release energy? Is there a deeper message in the barking? Is it that the animal has to bark and protect because the owner in its own life maybe doesn't have enough of that in its life? Maybe, the owner is gets walked over all the time, and so the animal feels like it needs to bring balance into the owner's life and bark. Or is it the opposite? Is the owner too much of a barker, so to speak, in their own life, and the animal is mirroring that behavior back to the owner? Now, dogs that can bark, and you can training also. Animal communicators shouldn't be used instead of training. We should all train our animals to a certain level, to a level that suits our lifestyle too. You don't have to have a dog that's, does agility training, especially if it's a husky or something like that. You don't have to have a dog to high standard training. It just has to fit your life and has to be comfortable for you. So with barking too, that's actually a command you can put on cue. You can train a dog to bark, but and you can tell a dog when it's enough to bark. So you can actually monitor their barking. We've got tips. If your dog's barking excessively at the door, you allow it to have a bark, you tell it when to stop. And then what I would do too is I'd put a treat above its nose so it can't actually get it, and wait 3 seconds until it's quiet, and then reward it. And you train it like that. So, barking is a very, very common one, but if it is in excess, it could be, a dog's in pain or anything like that. But if you've just got a dog and it barks, look at how natural that is. See, there's my geese. They carry on a lot. If you have geese, expect them to carry on. If you have a rooster, expect it to crow. We're talking about those types of things today. So I'll bring up a rooster as well. Another example is if you get a rooster, it naturally will start crowing around 5 or 6 months. Now, we could explain to it, please don't crow, but that's instinct. It's naturally going to do that. So there are certain instincts that an animal will do, and that's what we're sort of wanting to bring to people, is that please do your research on the animal you're getting, because there will be certain behaviors that they're prone to that they will just do because it's what they instinctually meant to do. So I guess I'll throw it over to you, Courtney. Sorry, that's like brain dumped on everyone.
All good stuff.
I'll bring over to you, and then yeah, we'll just bounce, I guess, and see what. Yeah, always on the
Okay.
fly.
Okay. But yeah, so everything you said was, yes, spot on. People definitely need to research not only the type of animal, but even the specific breed. Because each breed, like, dogs, for example, dog breeds are so different from one to the other. So what I wanted to mention was cats who like to mark their territory. Good old smell of cat pee. And I'm sure that some of you cat owners out there, especially if you have male cats, you know what I'm talking about. Now, cats can spray and mark their territory for different reasons. Sometimes they're just stressed out. And, we can kind of help figure out what's stressing them out and, come up with a game plan to make the changes to make them calmer and happier. I had a client that she had like her first cat, and then she got her second cat. Now she's had her second cat for 2 years, so they're not new together. And the first cat is still so upset because she brought in the second cat. Now she's gonna keep the second one. She's not gonna rehome him. She's like, they're just gonna have to deal with it. The first cat kept on peeing, like not even just like on furniture and like on the floor. He was peeing on her books. She had like a library. He would go in and pee on her books. I mean, that was, oh. So, and it took several sessions of talking with him, but he did eventually quit. The owner really, I mean, she was a rock star. She really helped with that. But so like I said, we can help with that depending on what the cause of it is. Now, however, my cats, I have two male barn cats, and they just live outside. They live in the barn, and they like to spray on a lot of stuff, and I can't get them to stop spraying. um, they it's not like stress, like, I mean, they live a very, very like good life, and they absolutely love, doing what they do, whatever that is. But their thing is they have stray cats that come in the barn. They have stray animals, wild animals come in the barn. Now, I only feed them once a day. I only feed them enough food for like one feeding. But if you guys have cats, you know that a lot of cats won't eat all of their food. They always tend to leave a little tiny bit in the bottom of their bowl. Even if you just gave it to them 5 minutes ago, they'll be like, I'm not eating that. That's old. So, oh, cats, they drive me crazy sometimes. And I've had cats my whole life.
Bloody
So,
cats.
yeah. That's what draws in, like, that tiny little bit of food that's left there is what draws in the stray cats, the wild animals. And so then my cats get upset and they start peeing on everything. And there's things you can buy over the counter. I've never tried them, but I guess there's sprays that kind of like neutralize the smell so that it won't entice the cats to keep peeing. I've never tried it. I don't know if they work, but for my situation, because it's in a large barn and there's many areas they pee on, that stuff is not, it's not, it just, it doesn't make sense because it's not cheap. And there's so much of an area I'd have to spray. It just wasn't going to work. I guess it'd be better if you just had like a couple spots in a house. So, my solution was there's some parts of my barn that I could actually keep the cats out. So, keep certain things up there, and then I know that would be safe. The things that I have down that are with the cats, I bought like those big Rubbermaid storage containers, and I would just keep like all my whatever it was inside the container. So yeah, they might pee on the container, but at least everything inside it is clean and dry and doesn't stink. And I know for my cats, for example, they love to pee on bags and tarps. So I really try not to have bags and tarps in when where they are. And as a last resort, this actually is like a different change, a new change in my life. My mom, where my horses are, where my barn is, my mom actually sold the property, and she just getting older, she needed to downsize. And so the new people are so nice, and they let me keep my horses there, which is like amazing because I didn't have to move my horses. They were fine with the cats being there, but I said, my cats pee, I think I need to get them out. I didn't want to have to deal with their stuff getting peed on and me trying to clean it. And I swear to God, like, you can try to clean something that got cat peed on and it still stinks. So my solution is they are just going to come to my house where I live, and they're going to be outdoor cats there. So I'm just going, because I can't fix the situation. I've tried talking to them. They're not going to stop because it's their instinct. So they're just going to come live at my house. So that's how I handle it. But
And with that too, like when they do spray, there's an extra hormone in there that makes it extra smelly. So like it's kind of like to what I'm feeling is like it's a need. They need to do that to like
yeah.
that's their boundary. And you know, when you have wild dogs know where the boundary is of that, you know, pack, and they very rarely mix. And so the cats, oh, and I think too, we should point out, like just for people watching, there's a big difference between spraying and urine problems. Whereas spraying is generally up against the wall,
Mhm.
spraying scent, whereas urine problems are not peeing in the litter tray because, you know, protest, sickness, you know, like a
Right.
UTI or something like that, kidney
Yeah.
problems. Um, but yeah, like with your cats, and I know your cats are very stubborn, and I know they're going to get into your you know your house, and they're going to start spraying everywhere because right, well, this is new territory,
Oh
and
yeah.
they can smell the other cats in the area as well, and
Mhm.
those cats can smell your new cat, so you've got that instinct, and that's, I guess, that is cat behavior. It's
Mhm.
normal cat behavior. Now they're not going into your house
No.
um and spraying on, you know, like, I mean, although I believe one of them would if they could. It's
They
like,
would.
oh, you
They
new
would.
clothes. A lot of
Yes.
cats do that in protest, don't they? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I seem sick today. I have a cold. It's not the Rona. It's just the change in the weather in Australia, and I'm a sook. I don't know how I survived London when I did because I'm such an old lady now.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I wanted to
I,
say one more thing because I'm sure someone would be thinking about it. You definitely can the spraying, the marking of the territory can decrease if your cat is fixed, if he's neutered, but that's not 100% guaranteed. There are still neutered cats that will still spray. So just wanted to throw that out there. It doesn't stink as bad if they're neutered because they don't have that hormone like you're talking about. Um,
yeah.
but it's definitely, I mean, it's a good idea to get your cats fixed anyway, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a good idea to try if you have that problem. But I'm just saying it's not guaranteed it's gonna stop it. So
Absolutely. And actually, while
yeah.
we're on the subject of cats, we should point out too that cats are nocturnal animals, and it's instinct that and same like with foxes, like dusk and dawn are
Mhm.
hunting times, and that's the good time. And they have such good ears that they could hear a mouse screaming in distress and know exactly. You'll see cats with their little ears moving different ways, and like that's when they know they should be up, they know they should be hunting. And you get
Mhm.
the tortoise shells. Torties are, first of all, my favorite cats. I know they look like they're a little bit mixed, bit put together, but they tend to be really good hunters. And that's when they'll get up early in the morning. That's when they'll run around the house going, I've got something, look at me. You know, I had my tortie would bring me dead snakes. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's this one here that I'll show you. I don't know if you can see that beautiful, that's Elizabeth.
Oh,
Beautiful little thing. Great hunter. God,
awesome.
what am I talking about now? That's right. Digging. Sorry, it's one of those days. It's been one of those weeks. Digging is another one. Digging.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How annoying is digging when you've got a garden? Um, one of my dogs was a digger. She'd dig and then she'd smell. She just loved to smell the dirt. Now, the dirt on top wasn't good enough. She had to dig and smell. She just loved it. Now, she grew out of it. She wasn't a lifelong digger. She'd also take, when she was a puppy, take her food and go and dig and bury it and then go get other food and then come back to that food because she was in you know, the way she was in a big litter and she had to, you know, go and hide her food. And that was sort of instinct to do that for her. Now,
Mm.
she grew out of that. But if you've got a dog that is a digger, and it is digging because it's something that they love to do, it's instinct for them.
Mhm.
Certain breeds are prone to digging, you know, they sort of dig down. And if it's driving you crazy and you're like, they just keep digging up my plants, they keep digging. Well, I would sort of spin that and go, well, this animal is showing you what they enjoy. And you should never take something off an animal without replacing it with something. It's all a form of negotiation. So what I would do is suggest designating an area for digging, burying the treats every day, bury something different in there. Bury the food, bury a smelly bone, bury its favorite toy. And so you're keeping its mind occupied, and then it knows to dig there. And then so you're satisfying that requirement for that dog to dig, that urge to dig, but you're also saving your plants. And don't punish the dog, just redirect the dog and praise it when it digs in the right area. Now, it may eventually grow out of its digging spot and you may not have a problem. But while you've got a dog that digs, definitely try that. When my dog was digging, I didn't care. I'm not a gardener. I couldn't care less. And I'd have all these little patches all over the backyard. I'm like, oh, well. The behavior wasn't a problem to me, but my husband was like, oh, my God, this dog just keeps digging. I'm like, yeah, she likes it. So that's the other thing too. Certain behaviors for certain people may not be a problem, or it may be a real problem. I think, to be honest, it's only a problem when it's in excess of what normal behavior for that animal, that breed is. But there are definitely certain behaviors that we have to accept when we have an animal. And also, buying a certain breed won't guarantee a certain temperament, because each animal is a different soul, a different spirit, a different life path, a different everything. So, you may get a dog that you think, oh, I'm going to buy this dog, it's going to act perfectly. And then it's a nightmare because it doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to act.
Right.
So, I hope I'm not going to sneeze, sorry. So I would definitely, with the digging, focus on giving it that, because that's enrichment. And if you take that away from an animal, that's when you may end up with excessive barking then, because it doesn't know what to do with this energy. And then you've got a chore, then you've got a job, and then you've got a goal, and animals love reaching their goals. So yeah, that's how I would deal with that type of behavior. But I believe, Courtney, you've got quite a good one about horses, because you are the horse lady. So what's your horses? Well, I go on sneeze.
I really like that digging advice. That's really very, very good. So I'll have to remember that if I come across a digging one. So for horses, for those of you who have them or know about them, they are obviously, they're herd animals. They're very social animals. They really don't like being alone. That's why they say if you ever have one horse, you really need to get another horse, or at the very least get a goat or a cat or a cow, or just something to, so it's not alone. A very common problem some horse owners have is when they take one horse away, whoever is left behind, whoever's in the pasture, not being ridden that day, flips out and has major separation anxiety. My one horse does. My 40-year-old, 40, yes, you heard me right. She's 40. She would be equivalent to like a 115-year-old person. She's really old, does great, knock on wood, but she's been like this her whole life. Now, I think that, generally speaking, of course, there's exceptions, but if they're brought up in a environment where there's lots and lots of horses with them, like let's say they're at a boarding barn and there's like 30 horses, so they're used to having horses coming in and out constantly. They're used to being turned out with, a lot of buddies, right? You don't see it as much in those kind of environments. You see it way more in an environment where they only have one horse, where they have maybe you have 3 horses altogether. They had 2 or 3 horses. If you had a small barn, and let's say you don't really do much with your horses, so almost every day of the year they're never separated. So in those kind of environments, you're going to see more of that separation anxiety. Of course, it depends on the personality of the horse. Not every horse is like that. My younger horse, Rosie, she's pretty good. She's pretty independent. She doesn't get too anxious. But like I said, my older one, she literally goes from 0 to 10 like that. I mean, and it's hard. And even with people, if they have anxiety, once they get close to a 10, like a 10 out of 10 on anxiety scale, you can't reach them. You can only help them and do whatever you can do to help them if they're at a 1, 2, 3, the lower end. Once they get to the upper end of that scale, they're gone. they're gone. And like Brandy, my old horse, she's nuts, and I can say it because she's my horse. Um, I will pull Rosie out of the stall. We're in the barn, mind you, we're still in the barn, and I'm just brushing Rosie. I have her tied out, and I'm brushing her. We're 10 feet away from Brandy. She can see us. She flips out. She runs to the stall door. She looks outside for us. She's screaming her head off, calling us, and I'm like, hello, we're right here. If you turn around, you'll see us. And then sometimes she'll get so crazy, she will run outside because my stalls are open. She will run outside and start running the pasture, screaming her head off. Meanwhile, we never left the barn. I mean, so that's what I'm talking about. 0 to 10, like that. So there's, you can consult a trainer. There's certain things that maybe you could try to do. Sometimes the more that you start taking these horses away, the more they get used to it. So there are some things that you can do. We used to tell Brandy that you need to supervise the farm while we're gone. Okay, keep track of the cats, see what my dog's doing. Watch my mom, because she used to live alone, not anymore though. Just like things, just give her a job to be like the supervisor, and that worked a little bit. But see, her problem is she knows we're coming back. It's not people think that, oh, they think that they're never going to see their friend again. And sure, there could be some animals that maybe their life situation that happened, but for Brandy specifically, no, she knows we're coming back. She is just mad because she didn't get to go to. So that's her story. So and I've tried where I brought like another horse as a buddy for her, and that, depending on the horse, it kind of worked. But as she got older, she didn't even care about the buddy. She just did not care. She just wanted Rosie. And so now that she's 40, and I still take Rosie because I'm still riding her. So I have her, Brandy, on a calming supplement, a daily calming supplement. I just do it in the summer. I don't do it during the winter months. So she's on a daily calming supplement, and then the days that I take Rosie away, like if we go somewhere, I have an oral supplement I give Brandy on top of the daily calming, which is fine. It's all over the counter and it's vet approved and all that. But so I, and I can't say it doesn't sedate her. It's, like I said, it's over the counter, so it's not that strong, but it does kind of knock her down a few pegs, so that she doesn't act like a goon. But that's a really, really hard one, because these are social animals who want to be in a herd environment, and they're prey animals, so they feel safer, confident when they have their buddies with them as opposed to being alone.
My rooster, sorry. And I also think too, a lot of the times with horses, not yours because I know you communicate with them, a lot of the times when people are moving them from, stable to stable or paddock to paddock, they're not being told what's going on. So then that heightens their anxiety again, and they're not told how long they're going to be there or why they're changing, and they may be missing friends. And so I guess a communicator is good. I know a communicator is good to help communicate that to the horse. Yeah. But also too, I've got 6 cows, and I've got one in particular that sleeps a lot, and then he'll wake up, and he's done this ever since he was a little baby. And then he'd be like, where is everyone? Because they don't wait for him. They'll just walk off. And then you'll see Adam walking around, mooing, trying to find his herd. You're like, Adam, they're over there. And you can see him look at you, and you're like, oh. And then off he goes, because that's their instinct, is to be in a herd.
Yeah.
Now I have had an exception to the rule with a cow. She didn't like other cows, but she was brought up differently. She was very sick, and she thought she was a dog. And that's, if anyone follows me and knows my farm animal sanctuary started because of Emma the cow. But that's very much an exception, and she still had a herd, but she had a pack of dogs. She thought she was in the pack, not a herd. So I totally get what you're saying. And your 40-year-old, she's still young. She's a child of the 80s. That's the one I remember, I think ages ago I spoke to, because you were going away, and she was still was doing the pacing. She was still not happy you were leaving. And and your mum was still there, wasn't she? She was still peed off. Remember that? Yeah, because she was just, so I totally understand that. Mm.
Yeah, and and you did talk to her, and it did help her. I can't say it,
Mm.
it wasn't like a miracle or anything, but my
No.
mom said she was a little bit calmer. I said, okay, that was good. But I think I told you the story where this was maybe a couple years ago. I was
Yeah.
taking Rosie camping for like 3 days with some of my friends,
Yeah.
and it just happened to work out that like I had Rosie locked in her stall while I was just about ready to
Yeah.
get going. So she was locked in her stall.
Mm.
And when I went to go get her so we could, load up in the trailer and leave, Brandy
Yeah.
was Brandy was outside somewhere in the pasture. She wasn't in the barn. And I said, "Oh, Rosie, we can sneak out." So I was like, "Shh." So we snuck out. We snuck out, got her in the trailer, started driving away. I called my mom and I told her, hey, we snuck out. I was like, I don't think she saw us. I'm not hearing her. I'm not seeing her running. And I was like, I don't know how long this is gonna last for. Um, and I went up to the mountain, so I didn't have cell phone reception for 3 days. So the whole time and I didn't want to connect with Brandy because I didn't want to like set her off. And so
Yeah.
my mom said she never figured it out for the whole 3 days we were gone. She never figured it out. She was calm. She was like fine. And then when we pulled in, she was just like, "Oh, hi guys, what are you doing there?"
Where'd she go?
Just kind of losing her a little bit.
Yeah. Well, she's all right. I mean, how old is she? Did you say like horse years? Because that's old, isn't it?
It's just,
I don't
yeah,
know.
she'd be like 115-year-old person, roughly.
Holy cow. And I think also we should point out to everyone watching that Courtney is actually a qualified trainer, like a qualified horse trainer. So you
Mhm.
spent years around horses, training them and behavior modification and all sorts of stuff. So,
Yeah.
when Courtney says, this is what we can do with horses, she knows from experience as well, on top of her animal communication. But I think that's funny that you snuck out. See, I would have cracked. I would have probably gone up the mountain and gone, sorry, I left because I'm such a sook. Don't know if it would have helped. But we've got so many stories of like animals and their natural behavior. And sometimes I'm going to pick on my husband because I can. Like he'll get cranky because they're just doing what they do naturally. And then I'll turn around and say, look, if you don't like it, go buy a pet rock because that is going to act exactly how you want it to act. But if we have animals, sometimes, well, they are going to have instincts that we do have to accept. And most of the times it's not a problem because that's why we get them. Like we want a dog, we want it to bark for protection. We want a horse because we want to ride and we have that spiritual connection. We want a cat
Mhm.
because we're just drawn to cats because they're also spiritual animals. I find a lot of spiritual people have cats
Yeah.
because they seem to connect with them. But yeah, so we have all these, we generally get them for those reasons, whether we know it or not. We're just drawn to their energy or whatnot. But there are some behaviors, like the cats early in the morning going hunting, that unfortunately that is just in them. And we will help, obviously, curb the excessive behaviors, the unnatural behaviors, or the behaviors where they're just trying to get our attention because something's wrong in either their life or your life or a needs just not being met. So,
Right.
yeah, I think that sort of wraps it up from my end. What else
Yeah.
do you need to mention, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it beautifully. Just as we said before, do your research on the not only the animal but the breed, but also as you just said, kind of try to look into yourself and see, is there something in me that's maybe, my pet is reflecting out that maybe I need to work on and they're trying to communicate with me. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why things happen. So, and that's what we're
Yeah.
here for, to try to help you guys decipher your animal.
Yeah, that's it. And I actually, as we're saying that, one of my dogs is barking out there, but I know someone's just come home. So we might end it there because this is kind of like we try to keep it half an hour, which is what we call housework length. Well, not in my house, but I don't know. I get bored after half an hour. That's just me. Maybe I've got
Yeah.
ADHD, so they call it. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. And I'll let Courtney sign off because she always does a beautiful job at signing off. I waffle.
Okay, well, everyone. Well, thank you for coming and listening to us. And We don't know what next week's or next month's topic will be, but please just keep on a lookout for that. And we hope to see you soon.
Yeah. See you, everyone.
Bye.